Welcome to episode 17 of Floating Through Film. This week we are going to be continuing our series on Studio Ghibli with My Neighbor Totoro and Grave of the Fireflies. We're going to start with Grave of the Fireflies and go to Totoro. But before I get into that, let me introduce my co-hosts, Danny.
Hello.
And Luke.
What's up?
And we made the decision to start with Grave of the Fireflies because we wanted to end happy, I guess. So,
yeah.
So Grave of the Fireflies is such an intriguing movie to me because you don't see animated movies like this. And I know that we can have this conversation. We can even have it now if we want. But do you guys think this is a kids movie? Because in my opinion, it is a kids movie. But would you consider this a kids movie?
I don't know. I just feel like labeling a kids movie is basically like almost saying animation is just for kids. That's what kind of keep me from calling it a kids movie, because a kids movie, the subject matter is not like, I get it, like maybe like if you're like a middle-aged kid, like
a middle-aged
kid. I mean like 10s, 11s, 12. Maybe you could show it to them, like to show them that. But I don't think I don't think the label of a kids movie is what I would call it.
No, I see what you're saying. Like when people hear kids movie, they think only for kids movie.
Yeah.
And really, what I mean, you're probably saying is this movie also for kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
That too.
Or even marketed towards kids? Like,
which
is almost two different questions. And yeah, it obviously was probably marketed towards kids.
Yeah.
But this is what I would ask you: do you think a kid can understand everything that's going on in this movie, and how deep it is?
We were having this discussion beforehand.
Yeah.
I think, especially in Japan in 1988, yes. But nowadays, if you showed I think my kid would know about stuff like this because I like World War II and talking about stuff like this. But I don't think the majority of kids nowadays would get the themes behind this movie. No, I think they'd get the main theme of one of the main themes of kind of just sticking with your family no matter what. Mm-hmm. Like that strong theme throughout the whole movie. I think they'd get that, but I don't think they'd get I don't think they get the Anne at all. I don't think they get.
That's what literally what I was.
I don't think they get the. I don't think they get any of the backdrop of the war, of World War II. Kids nowadays, I don't think they get anything like any of that.
Yes.
I don't think they know the time period this is set in. I don't know. I would show my kid this probably whenever they're between 10 to 12. Like I said, whenever they're about that the boy's age in this movie. But, I would still. I still think kids need to see this movie though.
Need to.
I think they do.
Just I don't know. I guess. Really, what it comes down to, do you think a kid could understand the death? Would they be able to handle the death in this movie? Or the deaths in this movie? The deaths
in this movie.
But I don't know.
I think kids. I mean, I think kids can handle a lot more than we give them credit for, because I think they can. I think they're just stronger than people give them credit for, as shown in this movie, honestly. But I honestly think that's something that Takahata and Miyazaki both understand. That's essential to Ghibli, kind of, is that they understand kids.
Yes.
They understand that kids can understand and see things like this. Yes, it will. I don't want to say it will scar them, but it definitely might. I mean, it could scar them, but they aren't afraid to do that, to show something that they think needs to be shown, especially to their kids. Because I think this is specifically was showing to their kids, this is what happened to us. This is what. Takahata literally went through something like this whenever he was he literally went through the firebombs in Tokyo and shit like that. Or maybe not in Tokyo, I can't remember where. I think it was in Tokyo, but he literally went through this whenever he was a young kid. Miyazaki was born. Miyazaki actually, his father was plane manufacturer, so they actually got to move away from Tokyo, and he lived like a really posh life during the war, which is kind of something that we see in his movies. Like he's got the guilt complex with that, but no, I think that's like crucial to Studio Ghibli though. I really do think that is crucial how they do have things like this. They have movies like this and aren't afraid to show this to kids basically.
Okay, yes. So this is where I agree with you that yes, kids should obviously know about that, real things that happen in the world,
Yeah.
But this is where I kind of don't know if it's a kids movie then, because everything you said there about what kids should be able to know applies to everyone.
Yeah.
Not just kids. Like think about just go look at the list of all the movies that are in the theater right now, and none of them will even touch the subject matter, or even get close to what this movie is.
Yeah. No.
So technically, on that scale, all of those movies are kids movies compared to Grave of the Fireflies,
Yeah.
And literally they are. Most of them are just like fun little movies that you don't have to pay attention, and you'll the soundtrack will get loud when you're supposed to watch the screen.
Wait, was this rated PG or was this rated G? I'm gonna check that real quick. I think it's PG, but
I don't trust like older parental.
Yeah, I mean Jaws is rated PG.
Yeah.
I remember like when I was in like 2019 or 2020 or something. I watched Airplane. I was like, oh, it's a PG movie. Yeah, and then just like in the middle of it, just
you basically have to scale up. Basically,
yeah, a pair of like something showed up on screen. I was like, oh, hi.
Damn, that was in PG too.
Yeah, like.
No, they. That's funny that the guidelines have actually gotten stricter.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I guess it wasn't rated. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't.
What?
I guess it wasn't rated.
Grave of the Fireflies?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe it was just before, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Because does Japan have ratings like that?
Yeah. I don't know if they have ratings like that or not. I think they do. They probably have their own rating system, though, yeah.
But anyway, we should talk about the actual movie.
Yeah, we should talk about the actual movie. We can actually get into it with, like, the opening of showing the main character literally dying and showing how both of them are dead at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
I know Luke was saying that he might not like that.
Yeah, and then Blake reminded me of what happened after that. I was like, okay, wait, never mind, maybe not.
So why did you not like it initially, or like you kind of had a feeling of like it versus wanting to change your mind?
Because I don't know, I didn't know if like either that would. I felt like maybe if he kept us guessing throughout the movie, maybe it would have been made things just more engaging. I feel like, or hit harder. That's a better word for it. And I was just like, I wonder if I would like this more if we found out at the end rather than the beginning. But then Blake reminded me of what happened like with like them like riding the elevator.
Yeah, it's like an escalator to heaven basically.
Yeah,
like they rode a train, then escalator to heaven.
Yeah, and like the part where like he's like the guy's like throwing like food on it, like putting food by his side, like it's just like yeah.
It's definitely a beautiful scene, and I really like how they open with him with his death scene, because I think it's them saying like this is kind of normal. Like this was normal for these kids to die back then. Like you shouldn't expect these two kids to live just because they're in the movie. Like I think that's what he's saying with this, because like the other kid on the other side of him dies too. Like both like two kids die in that one scene. Our main character and the one other kid, because the other guy. I don't think the other kid was dead just yet, but the other guy bent down, looked down, and he was like, "Oh, this one's a goner too."
He had a wide shot during the scene. I thought there was like 5 of them.
There was a lot of kids there,
Yeah,
but two specific ones definitely are dead, and the main character and then that one other one. So it's like I think it's honestly just Takahata saying like this was not uncommon back then. Like I think that was the power of it, and then like it led to like that powerful opening. Like the opening of this makes me cry every time. It really does.
Like this is just one of the many stories, almost kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's what he's kind of just opening it up with saying. Like I think that's what that opening shot's supposed to mean.
Okay.
Like this is just one of those stories. Like this is not like an uncommon story back in the day for kids like this. Like especially if both their parents died. Like because like just imagine how many kids had. Like almost every father was in the war, and like you're getting like how many kids' moms died in bombing raids. Like that was not uncommon for people to die in bombing raids a lot. Like there were so many orphans, and we should actually get into the movie and like talk probably about. I don't know if people would like this is maybe where people hate the movie, but like the ant, like is this where people start falling off of the movie? Like they just don't like the ant character. They might not understand the ant character.
Maybe I don't know if it falls off at all for me. It just she maybe is like in a movie that's trying to be very realistic. She just seems almost like almost like a stereotypical villain character.
Yeah, I did feel that too.
But see, that's where I actually disagree. Like because I think this is just how society was back then. You know, like I think this is just how society kind of treated their kids, especially if you're going through wartime like this and strict rationing at the end of the war. Like you just don't have food for 2 more kids. You know, like you have three people in your family, and obviously, like you don't want to say you're gonna love your kid more than your sister's kids or something. You know, like but you obviously do because they're your like they came from you. So like it's just I don't agree with her in the movie obviously because she's the fucking worst. But
that's
But I understand where she's coming from because these kids like it's just like 2 kids got added to her family that she wasn't expecting already with like low rations, you know, like
but wasn't that not the reason why she kicked them out though? Like
what
didn't she kick them out because they were just like she thought they were like a nuisance, like not in terms of like picking up food, like they would cook their own food and not like share it. But I don't know. It's just like it's from what I understood, like she didn't cook
because she does. She snaps at them when they're singing. You remember that when they're singing at the piano.
Yeah.
And to me, really, what it comes down to is like I don't agree. Like I definitely see what he's trying to do in terms of yes, this happened. Like obviously, you can understand her position.
Yeah.
Right. She barely had any food in the first place, and you're adding 2 more people. To the family. That makes it worse. You know, for her obviously. It's just like. I think maybe because this is the kids aspect to it, like he had to make it obvious to maybe a kid watching it that she's a bad person.
Maybe, right?
And so like you kind of have to hate her, right? Because if you actually like that character, when she lets the kids go, it wouldn't kind of make sense. You know, you almost have to play it over the top.
Yeah.
When like it might have been too depressing if it's like she really wants to keep them, but then she's like still sending them off. Like, you know, you kind of just have to be like, okay, I get why she's sending them off. She hates them.
She hates them, yeah.
And she does. Like,
no, she definitely hates them for sure.
And she gets a little moment at the end where she kind of just stares at him.
Yeah.
And she kind of just watches them walk off. Like maybe she showed a little hint of remorse or something, like what's going to happen. But
yeah, well, she didn't think they'd actually leave. Like she obviously
she was
didn't
surprised,
think she obviously didn't think they'd
That's
actually
a good point.
leave.
Yeah.
Like she's just verbally abusing them because she thought she could, you know, she didn't think this would happen. Like if she ever figured out like their ultimate fate, like I think she would be.
Oh yeah.
I think she would feel immense remorse for that. Obviously, it's just like she didn't think that they would like actually leave, but at the same time you shouldn't do that.
And that's why I kind of like it more from their perspective, because like from their perspective, it's just another terrible thing that's happening to them.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
Like and just a long line of things that's already happened to them.
Yeah.
You know, that's why to them it kind of makes sense. Like, oh, we're just gonna have to go to the next thing. You know, like that's why it makes sense from that perspective. Where it, like you're saying, it's more realistic. This happened. You know, kids had to live alone. You know. Like, kids did die from nutritional defects.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get to the ending.
And then it kind of gives you false hope when they go to the cave, you know.
Yeah,
like,
it does. They get their moments for sure.
Oh, they have. They have so many moments.
And they just pull the rug on you, you know. Even though you do know the kid dies. So
yeah.
And like her line, what is she? So she says something about the fire. Like, why do they have to die so soon?
Yeah, she says why fireflies have to die so soon.
Yeah.
Or so young.
No, it's coming at that point.
All the shots with like the firefly lighting.
Yeah,
like just amazing.
No, because there's a brutal shot where he's watching them by himself after. And it's like, it's just so brutal.
On the train, or
no, after she has died.
Oh, okay,
he's kind
after
of
she
alone.
died.
Yeah.
I remember there's a shot like he was like I think he was looking at himself on the train. I think that was a shot. Was it? I swear that was a shot. In the movie,
I'm pretty sure that was a shot. I think I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, I remember. I was like, wow.
I was like, wow.
And that's my reaction.
I mean, hey, that's a fair reaction. So.
I will say, I think actually my favorite shot in the movie is there's like one scene where they're like outside of the cave, I think, like near a fire or something. Yeah, watching the fireflies. And there's just 2 of the fireflies just fly into the cave. That's the scene. I love that shot.
Yes, there's so many good shots in this movie. Like some of my favorite shots aren't even like those beautiful moments. It was like the first time that he just lingers on charred bodies. Like that shot's not beautiful, but it's just like
saying,
it's just
though.
like
It's
damn.
like he's not hiding anything.
Yeah, he's literally not hiding anything. And the first shot of the mom in the hospital is just like seriously, dude. Like you had to do it.
If it was more of a kids movie, maybe she would be in the hospital the whole time.
Yeah, like you maybe
she wouldn't be dead.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Like she probably wouldn't.
It'd be more like Totoro.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw someone say this, and I wonder what you guys think of it. Someone made a comment on Letterboxd that that they didn't think this was an anti-war film, and that it was more about the Japanese stubbornness during the war. I don't know what you guys think of that.
That's a reading. It's a kind of a reading on it, but
I guess it depends on what you mean by anti-war.
It's definitely anti-war to me.
Okay, you'll have to explain that, because to me, I don't really think of it as an anti-war movie where I think of certain anti-war movies where they're like, it's like propaganda almost that they're trying to be against war. This one to me almost just feels like it's telling the harsh realities of war.
Yeah.
And you can get the anti-war. Obviously, it's very anti-war message.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is what war causes.
Yeah.
But to me, it's still more in terms of it's just trying to show that this actually happens. It's not trying to be in your face about this is why war is bad.
That's why I love this movie so much.
Yes,
it's because of that. Like that's one thing, like Miyazaki was saying, how him and Takahata don't like people would, like how I said last week, how people would say they would do anything if it had an anti-war environmentalist message behind it, and he said, no, we don't do that. Like
that's just who we are.
That's basically just that's in their DNA. That's just who they are, and it comes out in their movies, And like that's one of my favorite parts about this, because it's not. I kind of understand what that person's saying about like the Japanese stubbornness, because most of the adult characters in this are very stubborn Japanese adults, that were part of the problem of the reason this war lasted so. Or I don't want to say the reason this war lasted so long, because I mean everyone did terrible shit the whole fucking time. But
honestly, like what I got from it is just he was basically saying like the innocence of the children was really taken away from the war.
Oh, well, yes, that's definitely the main theme of the movie.
When their parents died, they lost their child.
Yes. And honestly, I kind of have the opinion that Totoro was kind of a response to that, in a way. But I'm gonna talk about that when we get to Totoro.
Because I guess we should talk about with Totoro, where I do actually see, it is crazy that these came out the same year from the same studio. But I do see similarities in the two movies, even though they're very tonally different. Like just the way they tell the stories, kind of just very slowly, just almost. You said slice of life. I think.
Yeah, they're both.
There's one like 12-year-old character, and then her their little sibling. The ages of them are definitely kind of the same.
He definitely likes that kind of relationship. Yeah, two kids.
No, and I mean, so like taking the innocence away, like that definitely is one of the main themes of this movie, but that's not like showing Japanese stubbornness, in my opinion. That's just like one of the main themes. Like that is the main theme of the movie, of like these kids lost their innocence because of war.
Yeah.
Like not because of Japanese stubbornness, but because of just war in general. Like the act of war is what caused these kids to lose their innocence, and like the fact that I can't remember the kid's name, the brother's name, but like the brother was trying to keep her innocence for so long, like because he didn't tell her that the mom was dead for so long in the movie, because like he wanted to preserve her innocence. Like he didn't want her to lose her innocence like he lost his. Like he wanted her to still have like that at least little glimmer of hope, even if it didn't matter.
But remember, she tells him she had already known.
Yeah, no, she does, because the aunt told her.
Yeah, right? Which kind of makes sense.
Which is also terrible.
Yeah. Like, but she doesn't care about it. Like she just sees it. Oh, it's another kid that's going through this situation that I see all the time.
Yeah.
That's kind of how she sees it. It's like, well, why do I get stuck with this kid? Almost.
Yeah.
And that's why she doesn't really care. But of course, from his perspective, he cares about his sister's innocence, like we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I did like that scene where, she, like we were kind of talking about at the beginning, she knows what's going on.
Yeah.
The kids know what's going on.
Yeah. They're a lot smarter than they give them credit.
I mean, braver too, right?
Yeah.
Like, she obviously has her moments where she cries and stuff, but no, for the situation, like obviously Takahata has a lot of respect for both of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I just love, so we can like probably finish with this of like over the credits, them both sitting looking at Tokyo, how like modern Tokyo kind of. Like that shot is just really powerful, because like I honestly don't even know 100% what Takahata is wanting to get with that message, like with that, because like I don't know if he's saying like this is what we lost, kind of whenever we lost the war, like we lost that sense of like community or something like that, and like being together, and like it got replaced by like this is progress. Like we just lost our way of life.
So this is the shot where she leans on his shoulder on the bench.
Yeah, because it's like showing just like modern day like Japan basically, and and I don't know if I think it's definitely just like him saying like this is progress, kind of like this is what the progress what this led to, but like I honestly don't like, what do you guys think that shot means? Like it is a very open shot. Like I'm not sure. Like my reading of it is like this is kind of what we lost, and I say that partially because of My Neighbor Totoro, also because My Neighbor Totoro's tagline is literally like, we're giving you back what you lost, basically, like, because like Miyazaki had, like, with that movie, he had a very strong sense of like showing Japan like this is what we used to be, like this is how our community used to be. Like.
I was gonna say, this goes by add on to part of the response. It feels like Miyazaki saying, no, the innocence of children did survive the war.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he shows it through these characters. You know, they're very similar characters.
They are.
You know, their innocence is literally the main part of the Totoro.
That's a good way to look at it. Because
Because
really, what I just thought of as, I mean, this is the modern city. This is what almost not created it, but this is what we lost. You know, what's buried underneath, kind of thing.
Yeah, what's buried? Okay. I like that. I like that actually a lot. What's buried
because they kind of look like ghosts in that scene.
They do. They are definitely 100% ghosts in that scene.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I thought of it. But no, it is open like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost
honestly,
like
honestly, it's just a shot. Like I wouldn't even put it into words. I'd just be like.
It's just a great moment.
It is a great moment. Like I love that.
At least
the
moment is happy. Like,
it is a happy moment. Yeah. And like that's the one thing. Like I'm crying at the beginning of the movie too, whenever he dies. But like even that moment, like Takahata makes it beautiful at the end. Like he makes it happy because they're at least together in that moment. Like they are finally back together. And that's one reason why I also like the beginning is because like after you watch it a second time, you're just like, okay, everything. Like yes, everything sucks for them in this life, but like. They at least are together now, and they don't have to go through all this suffering and pain anymore. And shit like that. Like I think that's what the beginning of the movie feels like after watching it a first time. Like watching it a second time, that's kind of what the beginning feels like. But we can go. I guess we can just go into Totoro now. Since no, we've been mentioning it.
Let's cheer ourselves up.
Let's cheer ourselves up with good old My Neighbor Totoro. So like I mentioned to you guys already, and I think this is kind of common knowledge. I don't know how common knowledge this is. But like these were literally released as a double feature in Japan, and it was released
as a double feature.
You watched them as a double feature. Yeah. Totoro was released first. Grave of the Fireflies second.
I can't believe they did that.
I'll tell you.
Literally, like when I watched it, like, so like I watched Totoro and I was like in such a good mood, and then like immediately I turned on Grave of the Fireflies. I died this day, and I was like,
I died this day.
Well,
there we go.
There goes my happiness.
Let me guess before you say it. Let me guess. Is it because they were worried people would leave after they were maybe thought there was marketing though, so maybe they would know what Totoro is. But still, they thought people would leave after Grave of the Fireflies because they were too depressed or something.
I thought it was because Miyazaki wasn't a known figure. Like,
was it what?
Miyazaki wasn't really known, wasn't it?
That's part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
So like, well, I mean, he was known, but like it was more so like backers. But like, so Toshio Suzuki, like their producer, he didn't like that they were releasing this as a double feature either, because he didn't like how tonally different they are. Like he was like, this isn't gonna work very well, guys. But I guess, and so like they had to do it because their backers didn't think Miyazaki, or like they didn't think like Japanese kids would want to see a movie about two girls and a monster, you know? Like they didn't think they'd want to see that. And since Miyazaki's like Castle in the Sky kind of bombed, like he hadn't made like a great movie since like Nausicaa, which I mean is like, it was just a movie before, but like they thought it was like a one-hit wonder after Nausicaa, basically. Castle in the Sky didn't do amazing. It made back a lot of money later on, but idiots, yes. No, so they decided to put Grave of the Fireflies with it because Takahata was well known and had shown he can make a good movie and it can make money with movies and stuff like that. And they thought that like Japanese schools would take their kids to see Grave of the Fireflies, and that's why they wouldn't put Totoro with it also. Is because they wanted the kids to see it along with Grave of the Fireflies, just to get it out there.
Yeah. honestly, I think it works better as a double feature the other way, but I understand why they did it though. Because like honestly,
I don't know if it would, because I think people would walk out after Grave of the Fireflies.
Obviously that's a thing, but I just think generally I would enjoy it better because like it almost feels like because Totoro is basically set after the war. Like I think it better if you go during the war and then like after the war. It's more like.
See, I don't think of it as Totoro set after the war. I don't think Totoro has a. I don't think it's set. I think it's set before. Maybe I don't know. Because their garb is kind of like modern, but this is like. I honestly think this is like it's one of Miyazaki's worlds.
Yes.
Like it's not like I think this is a world where like the war just didn't even happen. Kind of.
Well, like you mentioned in just the review we were doing, like how Miyazaki was saying about Totoro, this was like what we missed out on.
Yeah, like like the tagline. I wrote it down. The tagline was we are returning something that you have forgotten.
Okay, yes. But see, it feels more like this is what Miyazaki thinks that Japan was like. Mm-hmm. You know, so it is kind of his world mixed with historical elements maybe of that past world.
Yeah,
but it's obviously a nostalgia feeling to it.
Yeah, no, like I love this movie because it is about community. Like it's about the community. Like I think that's what they're getting with, obviously, of trying to like bring the community back together. Because if you see, I don't want to say if you see like Tokyo now, like there's no community, but it's definitely a lot more like America, where they're just looking out for themselves. There's just a ton of people in like one area, but they're not like talking to each other or anything like that. They're all isolated. Like they have lost that sense of community, just like America has. Like we also used to have a sense of community in America, where at least in like the Midwest, like where we are, like there used to be a sense of community with like farmers and stuff like that. But like we've lost that also with just industrialization. And I think that's what they're just wanting Japan to kind of like realize what they've lost with this, like that. And they were obviously with the tagline saying please come see this and change, like maybe not change your ways, but at least like think about it, kind of.
And to me, like it's not even it's definitely what the, like to me it's even more about than just when I think of community, I think of just people. And to me it's more just like about just your environment, like other things in your environment can be alive, not just not just people and nothing else is alive kind of thing. And obviously with the kids, like this is, I think, one of Miyazaki's like biggest points is like kids can see that aspect of the world way better than adults can. And starting from the youngest kid who sees the Totoro first, and then the older kid has to see it, right? Because like it's easier for the younger kid to believe in it more than anyone else.
I love that about it too. Because it's kind of like what Luke was saying about like child innocence, like like that's the only reason they can see Totoro is because they have that childlike innocence and that childlike whimsy. Like they still believe. I don't want to say like believe in like the magic of the world, but like they do. Like kids, so. Like kids believe in magic. Like they do believe in that stuff. Like.
Honestly,
like they believe a monster's actually under their bed. Like you're gonna tell me you sit here as like whenever you were 6 years old that you didn't think there was a monster in your closet sometimes.
Oh, I definitely did.
Honestly,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I mean that's monster. The whole thing Monsters Inc. is built on.
Honestly, like it kind of took me back. I kind of felt like a child watching it. Like, just like the wonder at it, and like just the amazement.
Like and that's what I love. Because I think I kind of mentioned last time where like how Miyazaki treats his kids. Doesn't look down on them kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's more than that in this movie. It's like where you're just like wishing every other person in the movie would be like the youngest kid. Because she's like the smartest. Like she basically can see the world better than everyone else can in a lot of ways. And so you're like, damn, why can't ever? Like she's the one that sees the Totoro first. And we can kind of just talk about the movie, like where she sees. Basically, she sees the Totoro first. It reminds me of Alice in Wonderland.
Yes, it's definitely Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
For sure.
I wasn't sure if that was inspired.
Yeah,
it
just
reminded me that because she literally crawls through a little hole.
Yeah.
And it's a great shot where the hat just kind of falls off at the entrance. Yeah, I love that shot too.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Alice in Wonderland inspired.
I mean, because we talked about that with Celine and Julie go boating.
We did.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I mean, that's why I thought of it. I was like, damn, Alice in Wonderland has more impact than I thought it did.
Oh yeah.
On all types of movies.
We need to talk about the Totoro though.
Oh yeah, which one do you want to talk about first? I honestly like how they just start out with the little one, then you see the medium-sized one, then you see the giant
like
one.
Russian dolls.
Yeah, I know exactly. That's why I love.
They're like inspired by all of these little things.
Yeah, and like Totoro, like obviously Totoro's not a real thing. It just came from Miyazaki's imagination. But like he literally said Totoro is where my consciousness begins because it was a figment of his imagination.
I feel that.
It was a figment of his imagination. Whenever
like
he
this
was
is
a
what
kid,
his ideal world. These are the kind of creatures that would
exactly. Yeah, like this is literally a creature he drew as like a kid, basically. So like he just redrew it as a
words can't describe how much I wanted Totoro as a pet.
I know, dude.
Like just
not even as a pet. I just want to live in the forest with him.
Honestly, I just like have him as your bed, like the big one, like just like have like blanket and stuff and just like lay on him, like yo.
But dude, I wouldn't even mind like, and okay, this kind of gets to the whole community aspect you were talking about, but like obviously this is a fictionalized world, but he wants you to have that feeling of if you go outside and go for a walk, you can see all these kind of animals.
Yeah.
And I mean, how awesome would that be? You just like walk out and you see like a family of Totoro.
Well, I mean, how awesome would it be to just live in a house right next to a giant camphor tree?
Also,
like that would be
that
awesome.
Alone, yeah, it's just how cool it is to live next to a huge tree.
Yeah. It's how cool it is. I mean, we are probably the only people to say that, but not the only ones. But nature lovers
other
are.
Tree lovers out there.
Other tree lovers.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, Miyazaki's sense of nature is just.
No, it
the
is.
way he just captures nature.
No, and one of the things about this one is not even just nature. It's the fact that they don't really ever go into like religion in their movies too much, And this one also doesn't go into it, but this one is like it's calling back to like it's another one of those callbacks to like their past, just with all the shrines just learned about, just all like Shintoism is like in the veins of this movie. It's just not like on the surface. Like there are so many I feel like there are just so many themes of this movie that are just like Shintoism basically.
So what's the number one thing you think of then? Because I don't know too much about Shintoism. Like,
well, it's just
I don't even know what it means.
Well, it's not like it's kind of from Buddhism, but it's not.
It's kind of both, you know. Like
it's kind of both,
at this
yeah.
Point, yeah.
But it's more so that it kind of just like living in harmony with nature more so.
Yes.
But like that's mostly what it's about. But and that's kind of what I mean. But like the vein, like it's like the veins of this are like just all in Totoro basically. Yeah. Like, but
and kind of it's not okay. It's kind of related to that, but and I remember what I was going to say earlier. This because we were talking about it before the podcast, where this movie kind of gives me similar vibes such as Pokemon. You know, that kind of.
Oh yeah.
Just. Like animals that aren't necessarily bad, but they're huge. You know, they're all kind of different. Like,
yeah, that's another.
You can tell like they were definitely inspired by Miyazaki's worlds, kind of thing.
And
also, that casual nature to that always that Pokemon gives you too, where it's not stress free, but.
Well, that's another thing with Shintoism. It just believes in the good of like humans. You know, like they believe humans are good. You know, and like things like that are good. So.
And okay, I don't know how much is true about Shintoism, but just maybe like. I'm oversimplifying what it means, like what a Japanese way of thing would be, but like just compared to America, anyway, in terms of that other creatures being alive, you know, like especially in the ancient tales and stuff where other animals would talk, and you know, other mythological creatures that weren't necessarily always evil, kind of thing. Yeah. Right. Like,
yeah, they don't have. That's
a long tradition of that.
Yeah, they definitely don't have as many, or they have evil spirits, obviously too,
but there's good spirits. Too.
There are good spirits too. Like the Tanuki that we'll get to in Pompoko later, like they're based on like actual like those are based on actual mythical. It was a mythical creature still, like it wasn't real obviously, but it's
it was a real mythical creature.
It was a real mythological creature, yeah. No, but so one of my favorite things in this movie is how there's no conflict whatsoever because like there's not really any conflict per se in like Grave of the Fireflies either, besides with the ants, but the conflict with that movie is just like. Everything going on in the background, but
there is conflict. I mean, the sisters do get in a fight. I mean,
there's a what?
When the two sisters like get mad at each other.
There's one little conflict where she runs away.
That's still conflict.
Okay, when the girl runs away though.
Yeah, that's a
conflict. That's the only conflict in the movie, and it all ends okay though. Like
you just call the cat bus and the cat bus will take you to the girl. That's it. That's all you need to do.
It does say something that the only conflict is resolved right away. It's such a beautiful way. Like
it's a great way.
It's not even resolved right away because like they do have the moment where they find the sandal. You know, like they think that she's actually dead, and like the first time I watched it, I was like, oh shit. but like before, like you see like the Shinto god of like protecting children basically just littered around this entire movie basically. So you don't think. Like that background knowledge that like Japanese audiences would have had in the day, like that would have at least told them like everything's at least going to be at least all right.
Okay.
Like even if something like this is happening, that's at least going to be all right. But that's one of my favorite things is like after she finds the sandal, she's like Satsuki's like, what am I gonna do? I don't have any other options. And she just looks at the tree and she's like, okay, I'll return to my roots literally. You know, like she literally thought like the only thing to save them is like nature, like this.
The way I saw it was like the only way they were able to find her was believing in that world.
Yeah, in that world.
Because it's the cat. Like I said, it sounded like a joke, but I actually love the ending where it's just like it has to be the cat bus that saves them.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like
who else?
Who else?
And because when they see the cat bus the first time. And the Totoro just walks in and they leave.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're like, oh my gosh, why did they get in? You know.
Yeah.
That's the best for sure. Best scene in the movie, by the way.
No, that is the best scene in the movie. Whenever she gives him the umbrella.
Yes. Oh my god. Just so long, like.
It's so long and so sweet and so funny too. It's so cute. Because he just hears, like, every time the water just drips onto the umbrella, like, his little whiskers just go, like, his face gets so excited.
And we need to mention what Kurosawa said about that.
Oh yeah, we should mention what Kurosawa. What you want? I mean, you're the one that you're the one that found it. So
okay,
I'll let you do it if you want.
There was
give us some context.
So the interview, I don't really know the context of the interview.
They were just meeting. It's like a series that Japan I think just has like on TV where they have just two like famous directors meet and talk for like a little bit.
So they should still do that.
I mean, honestly,
and then so they showed and in the interview they showed a clip of Seven
Samurai.
No, like
so it's basically just like Kurosawa and Miyazaki are basically just showing clips back and forth to each other and talking about it. But like Kurosawa literally showed a clip of Seven Samurai before this.
And then he immediately goes after the clip ends, he goes, I really like that bus in Totoro. And then Miyazaki goes gleefully, thank you. And then the I don't know what you call them, the
parentheses,
the brackets kind of thing. said Miyazaki seems to be at a loss for words here.
And I mean, how would you not be at a loss for words if the greatest director in Japanese or one of the greatest in Japanese cinema is like says that about your.
Yeah. And it's just it makes such more impact that like it's Miyazaki. Because like just knowing how Miyazaki is like.
Well, I mean, Miyazaki and Kurosawa are probably the only two on that like level from Japan. I feel like
in terms of rest of the world.
In terms of rest of the world, yes.
Okay.
Honestly, yeah.
I mean, okay, yeah. I would say as quality.
Honestly, nowadays it's
quality.
That's what's crazy though. Nowadays it's probably Miyazaki won.
No, that's why I was saying like Miyazaki is probably definitely has the more popular movies.
It's kind of crazy how influential his anime. I mean, obviously anime's been in the West now. It's honestly just getting started too, but
honestly, it's kind of and then Miyazaki apparently hates it now.
Totoro?
Well, I mean, no,
he hates anime.
He hates anime.
Oh.
no,
Miyazaki that's such a classic like old guy thing to say about the genre they like.
Yeah, it's such a Miyazaki thing to say about it. But anyway,
he sounds like a classic hater. I'm not gonna lie, which is so crazy because his movies are just the exact opposite.
Professional hater, dude.
Professional hater. No, we can get back to it by me just like kind of bring it back to just that spiritual, like not even like it's he has that human like Shintoism strewn throughout the movie, but at the end of the day, that's not what saves them. Obviously, what saves them is nature, and it's kind of like just him kind of just saying like, at least in my opinion, like nature is like it doesn't care about like human religion, like. We can it has its own opinions about the world basically. Like nature has its own opinions about the world and how it works, and that's what like the cat bus is. Like it doesn't work by the world's like rules. Obviously, like Totoro doesn't work by the world's
human
rules.
Logic, basically.
Yeah, it doesn't believe in human logic or human religion or anything like that. And I think that's
and it is almost like these two kids are more open to that kind of.
Yeah, like kids are more open to that just in general. I think.
This is kind of off topic, but I wanted to mention how I love, because we just talked about the scene with, obviously where they see the bus for the first time and everything. But I think it's the scene after, or close after, where we see the mother reading a letter from the daughter about how they saw the Totoro and everything. And like obviously from adults' perspective, you think they're kind of just making it up,
Yeah.
But I just love that, like the adults read, and she's still happy about it. Like she's glad that her kids are, So you can kind of read it both ways. Like even if you're an adult. If your kid was telling you this, you'd be like, you'd be happy that they have imagination like that.
Yeah.
But in the movie's sake, and it's actually real. Everything is happening. Yeah. She's still reading it like that.
Yeah.
Just a parent thinking their kids, just fantasizing kind of.
Was that the scene where they were watching them through the window?
No, that's at the very end.
Dude, that scene. I was mentioning that scene was amazing.
That's a great scene.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
Because the cat bus is sitting right next to him. Still sitting like a cat.
No, I mean what you're talking about though with like. That kind of just like
that dynamic.
Yeah, that dynamic of the kids
and the parents
and the parents. Yeah, it's like that comes into focus, especially whenever the dad he might not completely believe that they saw Totoro, but like after May is saying like yes I saw him, he was just like oh yeah okay we'll go to the shrine and pray like thank you and they went to the tree and like literally praying and said thank you for looking out for May or something.
Yeah, and the way they show the shot where they're all bowing facing the huge
canopy tree. Like that kind of shows what you're talking about. Like the parents might not completely believe in it, but they at least are open to like.
So their kids,
they don't care if their kids have that imagination. Yeah. Like a lot. I feel like a lot of parents in America would just like squat. Like they just give their kids like ADHD pills. Like. I mean, honestly though.
You might be right.
Like, am I wrong?
But yeah, because another example of that is the grandparent, not the grandma, but the housekeeper who's taking care of the house before they get there.
The nanny.
Because when they're telling her about it, she's like, "Oh yeah, I used to see those as a kid too."
Yeah, the dust bunnies.
Yeah, the dust bunnies and everything. Yeah. Oh, I love that because the dust bunnies like just leave the house.
Yeah, I remember whenever she came in, she was like, "Oh yeah, I keep the house clean." And like after they came down from upstairs, I was like, "Well, you're not doing a very good job."
Yeah. They don't show themselves to her.
Yeah, they don't show themselves to her. The suit's not there for her; it's for the kids.
What do we have any other favorite moments? Like what?
Do we talk about when they grew the tree? Like
oh yeah,
their own trees. Yeah, when they're like
the acorn trees.
Yeah, they're basically
they just do that whole ritual basically.
Yeah. That was amazing. And just the fact that the Totoro joined them while doing that.
Yes, so the Totoro's the one that starts it. They're the ones because they wake up and look out, and the Totoros are all just walking around, which is great.
I just love that when the Totoros were just like, we're all doing like.
And whenever they wake up, they're not even sad that the trees are gone, like you think they'd be. They're like, it was just a dream, and they're like yelling about it, and then they go like jump around, kind of like how they were doing the night before, because it's sprouted. Yeah, it was a dream, but it wasn't a dream.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No, it's
that's
a good
kind
shot.
of like the whole vibe of the movie.
Yeah.
It was a dream, but it wasn't a dream kind of thing.
Yeah, and no, like we can kind of end with talking about the mom, because the mom is literally Miyazaki's mom, basically, because she also had spinal tuberculosis whenever he was the age of May.
Damn, I didn't know.
Yeah, whenever he was May's age, like his mom was actually in like, I don't think she was in the exact hospital. Like I think it's Chichikokoyama Hospital in this one, but that's actually a real tuberculosis hospital in Japan back in the day. Like that's where people would actually go for this. Like so that itself like just gives the movie like this really is like Miyazaki's probably like most personal, or one of his most personal works for sure. A lot of his work, most of his works are personal, but like this one is literally like his mom literally had tuberculosis. She also got over it thankfully, but like he was the age of May whenever she went away. So
honestly, I didn't even realize it was. I didn't remember them saying it was tuberculosis.
Yeah, they say it, or they might not. I think they do say it's tuberculosis at least once whenever they were talking about it early in the movie.
Oh, okay, I don't remember. I was like,
either way, she's definitely sick. Something
no matter,
serious.
pretty much.
Yeah,
and because it's not like conflict, but it's kind of like semi-conflict where they get the note where they think something serious has happened to their mom, and obviously
and it's just a cold.
Yeah, but like that's where they're trying to go.
Yeah,
obviously, run
that's what starts the conflict.
Yeah. It's like I really love how it's well done in this movie, where because in a lot of kids' movies I hate where they just kill off a parent, or obviously just try to create some sympathy with the parent character, but this one it feels real, obviously, because the dad actually goes to visit multiple times and you see her and everything. But to me, it's like she just kind of gives it that tension of how kids are able to even forget that kind of pain to live in the moment, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we're watching it like we would probably be thinking more of their situation than they even are in certain moments, which is why they're able to live these kind of moments where certain adults may not be able to if they had a mom in the hospital,
Yeah, and I mean one of the reasons that makes that scene so sad too is because like I don't think it's the nanny that says this, but it might be the mom of like Kanta or whatever. Whenever they're talking, like she says, "Oh, it's probably just a cold. You don't have to worry that too much about it." And then she's like,
it's the nanny.
It was the nanny. Yeah, because like Satsuki says, she's like, it started out as just a cold too.
Yes. No, she's kind of yes.
Because that's why I think she breaks down.
Where she kind of has those thoughts. Obviously, like we were talking. Obviously, like we're going to be talking about throughout the Studio Ghibli movies. Is the kids know what are going on.
Yeah.
It's just that still, like I was saying, it's still true though. They're able to forget at the same time. Like to enjoy other moments or just kind of like kids can do. Better than adults can.
They can, and it's like whenever like May only gets kind of like bad whenever she finds out that her mom's not coming home, like because she was like once you tell like a kid is very like they're very like sturdy whenever they know like something like whenever they know something's happening like and they plan for something like that and then it's just like ripped away from them like that's what they were hoping for, like I mean, that was their entire
hope. For us
hope.
Watching the movie, it feels
that too for sure. But it's just like you put ourselves in that situation, like or like even whenever we were kids, like if you were told that your mom's coming home and you're gonna be completely better, and then you get a note saying she's not coming home because she got a little sick, like you're obviously going to think the worst.
Yeah.
At least as a young kid like that, especially if your mom went to the hospital because it was just a cold to begin with.
Yeah.
Like because they both obviously know that. I don't know. It's
especially the older one when she says obviously has that sick.
Yeah.
No, but both kids definitely have that.
Yeah, they both know.
Yeah, they know. Yeah. Like we've been saying.
Miyazaki makes food look way too good also because right before that scene they were picking vegetables out of the garden.
I mean, Spirited Away is probably the best though.
Yes.
Spirited
Away. Oh my gosh.
Spirited Away is so good.
But I mean, this was your pick. Do you have any last any last words on? Because you said these are your two favorite Studio Ghibli movies,
these are my two. At least for now.
So far.
I mean, yes. Well, they could change. I don't know if they will or not. Who knows? These are like two of the best, and this is like Ghibli broke literally new ground with these movies because no animated studio ever developed two movies at the same exact time. Like that just by itself is just insane. Like like releasing two movies as a double feature at the same time is just never was done in animation before. And I don't even like not done that often just in general, like
well, Disney wants to overwork all of them, so I mean they're probably too tired to make them.
Oh my goodness!
And the fact that it's just such a weird, not weird, but like honestly, like the producer you were talking about said, it's just so too tonally different.
But they do also feel alike. Like
they feel alike in terms of like the way the story is told.
Yeah.
Just two kids living. At least one of them is way more realistic.
Yes, one of them is more. One of them is more realistic.
But where the kids' imaginations really come into play, you know, they are kind of on their own.
Yeah, because I do like the kids being able to like overlook the situation is a huge part of Great of the Fireflies too, because there are so many scenes of them just running around, singing,
like
laughing.
they totally don't even understand how brutal they have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like, good for them.
Which is good for them. Like kids are very like they can overcome a lot, and like that's what I like about Studio Ghibli and like what they're saying, because Miyazaki might have like all these like messages in it and stuff, but like at the center of it, his movies are about like kind of just overcoming trauma, because he had to like anyone that grew up through the age they grew up in and kind of had to overcome trauma, you know, because at least of some sort, because they went through the war, like they were both alive during World War II, you know, like
and a lot
that's
of
just traumatic situations.
Was the rebuilding of all that.
Yeah, like those are just you can't forget that stuff, and that's one reason why I really want to watch Takahata's documentary, because that's one of the reasons why they made it, was because of like
not to forget.
Well, yeah, not to forget, and like the industrialization process that Japan went through after the war is one reason why all this pollution was caused. That's a big reason why Totoro is so beautiful, because like Miyazaki wanted to say like we also forgot this whenever we introduced industrialization, like because we've polluted literally all of our water. We have nothing that looks like this anymore.
Pompoko's definitely going to get into that.
Yeah, Pompoko gets into that. So many other movies get into that. But I mean, we can just get into what we're doing next week. Yeah. So next week we're just going to be continuing on with Kiki's Delivery Service and Only Yesterday, another Miyazaki and Takahata double feature. Not double feature, like for the time, but for us.
I can't wait to rewatch Kiki's Delivery Service.
Me either. I think I'm gonna love it a lot.
I just feel like I think I'm gonna love it this time.
I haven't seen either of these, so I'm excited.
Only Yesterday is one of my favorites as well. Like it's actually in like my top 7. So.
If you like low stakes Miyazaki, you're gonna like Kiki. You're gonna like Kiki's Delivery Service probably.
Yeah, it's definitely low stakes. Yeah. I mean Kiki's Delivery Service. A lot of people say it's about Studio Ghibli kind of. So.
Oh, really? Okay, that's good to know.
Or it's about like because Studio Ghibli hired a lot of like female animators, and this is like kind of Miyazaki making a movie about them coming to the big city, you know, living by themselves. That's at least what a lot of people theorize. But we can get into that more next week.
All right.
So until then, I hope to see you guys.